have the Grand Marshal in our studios today, Gary DeLacy. Gary was at the coordination, of course, so you did a great job with your speech. You're working off your note cards. It was awesome. You were walking all over the place. You got the attention of the young people.
Well, it was a unique opportunity. Obviously, very honored to serve as Grand Marshal this year. And I had said that 38 years ago, I was a first-year teacher sitting in the crowd observing the coronation, and I just some of the names that were teachers, colleagues of mine back in the, I went through like Bob Luters and Don Grunwald and John DeHaan and Dave Gallrap, and you can just keep going right down the line, and it's just like, those are, in my mind, iconic names. And then, to be in that position of being a Grand Marshal this year, obviously it was an opportunity. As a superintendent, you don't usually get a chance to directly address the student body. So as you witnessed, I took advantage of that opportunity to really kind of hone in on some things like core values and things that I would like to see us embody. I'll be honest, I think we need to get, when it comes down to the community of Clinton, it's a blue-collar community. Work ethic is usually a strong piece of that. I really feel like we've lost a little bit of that. We need to get our work ethic back. I really enjoyed when I was a teacher and a coach, 16 years as a basketball coach. One of the things we could really count on year after year was we were going to outwork teams in practice and games and those kinds of things. That's a core value we need to get back.
Doing the games and going to various places, like Muscatine and Bettendorf, that's what the coaches would always say to me. They go in the pregame interview, we know we're going to get an effort from the Clinton kids. They may not be as talented, but they are going to fight as tooth and nail.
Right. And we took great pride in that. And like I said, over the 14 years that Randy and I coached, we won 61% of our games. Some of those teams weren't probably as talented as our competition, but, I still remember J.D. Rios, the coach at North, telling me, we were both scouting an opponent that night. He goes, our kids hate playing you. They said, you guys are so physical, and when that 50-50 loose ball is there, we know your kids are totally committed to getting that loose ball. And he says, our kids don't like that contact. They back off. They let you get that. And of course, if you do that enough, you're probably going to win the game. And, there was a lot of games I feel we won just because of our work ethic.
Great name to bring up, J.D. Rios. Always enjoyed visiting with him. And, of course, he was a longtime assistant to Dave Wessel at Davenport West. So, homecoming week, coronation, which Clinton High does such a great job with. Brian Unke, the king. Ari Russell, our queen.
Yeah. I've been in 3 different districts and then exposure obviously to many other districts. No school or school district does homecoming as well as Clinton. And I mean, that coronation is kind of a crown jewel. And quite frankly, it's done so well. I'll give a lot of credit going back. This is many years ago. Dennis Sterling, I really think, enhanced that coronation where the guys were in tuxes and we got some band instruments there for the trumpets and things. A lot of those were started with Dennis Sterling on how could we make this even more formal, more of an impressive, prestigious event. And I'm glad we've been keeping a lot of those traditions in place on that. So 2 outstanding representatives. I mean, just you look at the reaction of the student body when those 2 names were announced. Mm-hmm. It was like, wow. I mean, obviously those 2 kids have major impact within the student body just by the genuine reaction when their names were called as king and queen. So I'm sure they'll do a great job presiding over the rest of the homecoming activities, and we're looking forward to the rest of the week. Encourage people to come to the homecoming breakfast on Friday. We have the parade tonight, hopefully no rain on that. Obviously Friday night against Xavier. And the band, I believe, has got their whole show in. They competed last Saturday in Pontiac, Illinois. So it should be a great conclusion to the week, and we encourage the community to gather around Clinton High School. Again,
visiting with Gary DeLacy. Started the school year, and I think one thing that I took from your speech is when you were talking to the young people and the freshmen, say, the first part of the school year, your freshman year, is going to be so critical for your entire high school career.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer that the most important semester of your high school career is the first semester of your freshman year. And obviously this is my 39th year in education. If you can get off to a good start and you get that 5 to 6 credits under your belt after the first semester, that kid's going to graduate. I mean, they've done it. And I'll be honest, the opposite is unfortunately true. If they stumble out of the gate, they can't pass classes, and now they're already in a catch-up mode. I always say the hardest part of school is if you have to keep up and catch up at the same time. You just made school so much harder. So yeah, I did have a special message to those freshmen, how important these first 18 weeks are to their entire high school career.
And just a couple more things I wanted to take from your speech. You told them, show up and try, and you'll be fine. And then you said, the best part of school is after the final bell rings.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big believer that kids need to be involved. And I was the parent that required my daughters, you had to be involved in something every season, fall, winter, and spring. And my daughters were more in that fine arts track, so they were either band, vocal, theater, that kind of thing. A couple of them ventured into softball and cross country a little bit. But, one of the things that always amazes me is the more involved that a student is, the more successful they are in the classroom. I mean, and I'll hear parents say, oh, they didn't get home till 11 at night. I'm worried. That kid is fine. They have organized themselves. They all of a sudden, they don't want to jeopardize those activities. They want to keep their grade point up so that those aren't, and those kids, they've learned how to organize their time. They figure it out. And quite frankly, they're in activities where that's where you want them at 8, 9, 10 at night. You want them at school, at practice, in the plays, doing those kinds of things, because there's a lot worse places to be.
Start of the school year. So how are things going so far on all of the levels?
I think we're off to a really good start. I'll be honest, the Evolve system, getting that incorporated at the high school, I think that is running really smooth. I think it does bring a peace of mind for Clinton High School in terms of that we are actively searching kids to keep that building safe and that we have no weapons there, and we're using it at our home football games as well. I think, I'll be honest, Teresa Schultz is now in her second year at the high school. So I think now that she's got a foundation of the first year and now going into year 2, I think you're going to see some strides there. I think the move of our alternative high school to the former CCC Graphic Arts Center is a really nice facility. Thank God. If you remember the weather the first 2 to 3 weeks this year and how hot it was, being in a climate-controlled environment versus where we were in the past that was not climate-controlled, I don't know how we would have had productive school the first 2 to 3 weeks with the heat that we had without being climate-controlled. And I'll be, just as going around, Andy Princeton, I believe, is in year 4 at the middle school. I really think the middle school is doing a lot of great things right now. He's really established a good focus at the middle school. I'm very impressed how that building has grown over the last 4 years under his leadership. And then, of course, the 4 elementaries. I think the biggest thing that we're working with the 4 elementaries is making sure that we have a Clinton elementary school feel, that it doesn't matter which of the 4 that you're at, you're getting a very similar experience.
How often do the principals as a group get together?
We normally have weekly meetings. And we have those conversations. And we try to balance it and have part of it talk about the actual art of teaching and learning. And then we also, obviously, there's some, like last week, we were talking about some of the mechanics of homecoming and making sure. So there is some of that managerial stuff. We also have a thing called instructional rounds where each building invites the AEA and all our principals and central admin team in for a full day in that building where we actually go into the classrooms, we look at teaching and learning, and then we come out of that, make some observations, and we offer some suggestions for things that could make it better. So, and we do that annually. I really like that because, for Andy Princeton, he gets down and he gets a day in each of our elementaries. He also, even though he was at the high school, he still gets a day up at the high school. Okay, what are the implications for the middle school in terms of that vertical articulation, and vice versa. I think it's good for Teresa Schultz to be looking at the elementary, the middle school. Okay, that they're feeding into the high school. It's good for those elementary people to say, oh, this is what they need to be able to do at the middle school and high school. How do we get them? Kind of fits in that portrait of a graduate, because we talked about a portrait of an 8th grader, portrait of a 5th grader. So we have those conversations. What should a 5th grader be able to do moving to middle school? What should an 8th grader be able to do skill-wise to be successful in high school?
Very interesting. Visiting with Gary DeLacy, let's take a break for the weather, brought to you by Dan Dolan.
For your Thursday, we'll be tracking a cooler day and more clouds, too. With occasional rounds of showers, we'll see highs near 72 with a light east wind. Tonight, showers continue with mostly cloudy skies. We'll drop into the low 60s. With your WQAD Storm Track 8 forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutsky.
Skies remain overcast, temperatures 65. Our update brought to you by Dan Dolan.
A Dan Dolan home is the perfect place to relax and enjoy your retirement years. Our age-in-place design and reverse mortgage opportunities provide convenience, accessibility, and sustainable retirement living. Our homes are energy efficient with snow and lawn care services provided. See for yourself what Dan Dolan Homes has to offer at our Meet the Builder open house on Wednesdays from 11 to 1. For quality, reliability, and value, Dan Dolan Homes is the place to go.
FYI with Gary DeLacy, and again, he's going to be in the homecoming parade. 5:30, is that when it starts?
5:30 it starts, I believe, at the high school, and then the normal route takes us kind of by downtown. The old YM, I think, is kind of where it usually ends.
All right, very good. Now, next talking point, vision of the district. September 28th is the day you've got down on that.
Right. So annually, we kind of give a snapshot of the district and things that we're doing. We have invitations out right now to community and business owners, but even if you're a listener out there, if you want to reach out to Lori Kness, 243-9600. We still have seats available. That would be a week from today. We will go over different aspects of the district, where we are in terms of that teaching and learning, where we are with social emotional. We'll talk about finances a little bit and where we are financially, give an update on the high school project, and some other things that the district touches on, and get a free meal out of it. It's up at the Tuscany, runs noon to 1, so it's not a huge time commitment, but get a free meal and get a 45-minute update on where the district is in terms of doing the things that we need to do to make kids successful and future ready.
I would imagine you're going to be the primary speaker, but do other people address the crowd?
They do. Wes Golden has been kind of the point person for Portrait of a Graduate, so he'll be speaking. Rhea Wright is kind of in charge of that social emotional student services. She'll speak. I have reached out to Synergy right now. We had Synergy, a couple students speak last year on their project, so I'm hopeful that Synergy will, have a 5-minute piece of that, and then I do the primary piece of it, but it will be put together by a number of people.
Any opportunity for question and answer from the audience?
Yep, at the end we usually open it up for questions and answers and those kinds of things.
In years past, what have some of the questions that have come up?
Some of the questions, a lot of people get the high school. Where are we with that high school project? How much of it's done? How much of it are we on budget? Those kind of logistical things, because it was a major push in the community on that piece of it. The Capturing Kids' Hearts has brought some questions in terms of how we've implemented that. That's kind of our social emotional piece. And it basically comes down to how do we treat each other between the students and the staff. Is it the social contract? How do we agree we're going to treat each other and hold each other accountable to those norms? So those have been some of the major questions, is around the facility piece and a little bit about that Capturing Kids' Hearts piece.
Interesting. Again, visiting with Gary DeLacy. Hall of Honor nominations now open, right?
Yep. The window for the Clinton High School Hall of Honor is open right now. We did get an article published in the Herald earlier this week, but If you check on our website, this is one that basically honors anyone that's really excelled, that's a Clinton High grad or alumni, but not in athletics. You know, we already have an athletic Hall of Fame. And my first year, I did have some people. Mike Kearney strikes me as one that was in my office and says, "You only honor athletes. Why aren't you honoring the doctors of the world, the ones that went off and in the military and made amazing contributions?" You know, and I'll start thinking about, like, Charles Toney went in a couple years ago, and he was kind of described the Martin Luther King before Martin Luther King, Clinton High graduate. Lulu Johnson was the first black woman to get her PhD in the state of Iowa, Clinton High graduate. Yeah, and I mean, and I think it's really important for our current students to hear the stories of past Clinton High graduates and what of an impact they've made beyond Clinton, in the state, in the nation, those kinds of things. And so we try to tie that in, and the induction is now kind of tied in with the academic awards and the senior convocation in late April. So we keep tweaking that so we get a lot of students in front of those speakers so they can understand the importance of, you can get here from here. You can get there from here. And I think that's one of our messages is that Clinton High School can get you ready, and you can make a huge difference.
You know, one thing I do like about the Hall of Honor is you do have honored some people who are still right here in the community, and the name escapes me, but she still works at Clinton High School.
Oh, Jenny Mann.
Yes.
Yeah, Jenny Mann was the first one for contributions. Jeanette Peterson, Clinton Printing, was nominated for humanitarian endeavors and is still in this area. So, yeah, I mean, there's a wide array. That's the one thing about the Hall of Honor. There's a wide array, and, you know, where the one is just really, truly focused on athletics. Here we honor military service, humanitarian endeavors, professional accomplishments, achievement in academic fields, and we've had winners in each of those areas. Even the arts. I mean, I know. Oh yeah, the arts. Who was the guy that was tied to Clinton Community College? Can't remember his name. We honored him a couple years ago. He's kind of a nationwide artist. Larry Davis. Larry Davis. Larry Davis was nominated and was inducted. And so, yeah, the arts are in there as well. Kyle Kettleson was in the arts in the first class, who's an international opera singer. So, I mean, there are some amazing stories of graduates of Clinton High School. So how long is the nomination window open? The window's open to November 1st, so we got 5-6 weeks here. Encourage people, they can send it to me directly. I'm kind of the keeper of that piece, and then the committee will meet pretty much that first week after November 1st, take a look at those nominations, make a selection for that class, and we normally announce that at the November KROS window. Okay. That's what we've done in the past is we'll make the announcement in November. I'm usually at the IASB convention each year because that's always the third Thursday. Okay. So it's usually Dennis Derling and Bill Mashevitz that come here and do the reveal of who is the next class. So that's the way we got it scheduled again. Okay, so that would be November 16th. So right, so November 16th, get that on your calendar. There you go. I'm looking forward to who is going into that Hall of Honor. It's a great Hall of Honor, as is our Athletic Hall of Fame. And I know we had one carryover, Duke Slater. Yeah, you could actually be in both. And Duke, obviously, athletically, totally understand with what he did at the professional level, University of Iowa and so on. But Duke got into the Hall of Honor for what he did on the judicial side and breaking barriers in the city of Chicago. So if you know the whole story behind Duke Slater. And another thing that will be coming up in the future is there is a committee that we are going to put up a statue of Duke Slater on that corner of 8th Avenue South and 9th Street, kind of right across from the high school parking lot right now. And that we're planning on that induction being at the first football game next year. That'll be great. Let's wrap things up with Gary DeLacy, the project update on Clinton High School. So we are finally, the demolition of the 1919 building is complete. And if you drive on 11th Avenue South up on the hill and you can look down, you're blocked in some ways with the boiler house, but you can really see the foundation of phase 2 is being put up. For a while, there was a big hole, and I was like, why are you digging this big hole there? And that's your future orchestra pit. The orchestra pit we've never had. So we're really excited about those pieces coming together. We're being told in October and November they'll actually get the precast walls put up. They're going the roof, try to get that closed in before December, and then they'll obviously be working on it during the winter. Phase 2 is, we're hopeful that the music wing and the CT wing will be open by August, the first day of school. The actual Performing Arts Center in the middle, we're kind of projecting more in November, December to finish that theater part. So I do see a blending of phase 2 and phase 3. I can see us probably demoing the front this upcoming summer. And then as we're finishing phase 2, you're probably going to start seeing phase 3, which is the front of the building, the admin center, and then the new commons area, which will actually connect to your gym when it's finally done. So that it's going to shift a little bit to the west in terms of that. So we were talking earlier, we're still projecting hopefully the August of 2025 when we can probably have it officially done. So if it stays on schedule.
You know, my thoughts on that was I graduated in 72, and our class was the last class that had to shuttle from Washington Junior High over to Clinton High School following the fire. So I would think this sophomore class is going to witness the old building and the new building.
Yep. The current sophomore class, they got a semester or a little more than, because we moved over at the end of February. So they got basically about 6 months in the old building, and then they're going to, they're obviously experiencing the new building. So you're right, that one will be able to see how it used to be,
right,
and then actually experience the building at full completion. So it would be exciting as a sophomore. They'll have stories to tell.
Yeah, I can still remember that bus ride from Washington Junior High over to Clinton High School. As it was interesting. Again, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations on being named the Grand Marshal. Parade starts at 5:30. I'm sure the rain will stay away. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm counting on KROS on that weather forecast to keep the weather away from 5:30 to 6:30.
All right, very good. We'll talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
Yeah! Now, you're hearing conversations.